Hello, this is Brian Resney, President of Resney Wealth Management. I'm bringing an important update about the U.S. economy and the global economy so you can better understand how we're positioned and also what we currently see. We had some great news out of the EU this morning. In fact, they basically have taken a credit crisis contagion off the table. The last, I would say 4 to 6 months, we've seen some extreme volatility, not only in the U.S. markets but abroad. And essentially the reason for that really had to do with the European banking crisis. If you remember back in 2008, the U.S. went through a banking crisis where Lehman went under, Bear Stearns went under, and almost every one of our big U.S. banks were going to go under. And essentially the European bank system is about 4 times the size of the U.S. And really a lot of the market gyrations that we've seen in the last 4 to 6 months really were because of a possibility that the European banks would go through the same credit lockup or crisis and cause a global recession or depression like we saw in the U.S. back in 2008. After today's meeting and after some of the great work that the EU has done, obviously it's taken longer than it should have, but they've taken that contagion off the table and they have basically backstopped their banks accordingly. So I think at this point, one of the big volatility leaders and one of the biggest risks in the marketplace has really been contained, which I think is excellent news. We are well positioned and have been, as we've seen a substantial rally for our clients in the last just 2 weeks alone, what we've seen in return. Again, that's why we follow an investment strategy, and as I've always said, sometimes an investment strategy will have short-term underperformance, but if I look at the next 2-3 years, I think we are set up to be well rewarded within every one of our client portfolios. I think investors who realize that an investment strategy and following that and not leading emotions or letting emotions drive your decisions is probably the most important thing that you can do for yourself, is make sure that that strategy is being followed. Because sometimes your emotions are going to have you make bad decisions based upon what you're trying to really ultimately achieve, which is a return on your portfolio, whether that's income, whether that's growth, or the combination of the two. We've had a tremendous amount of short-term volatility, and I can understand sometimes that'll drive people crazy. I certainly don't like it for our clients, but it appears that some of this volatility should start to wane as we get into 2012. We are properly positioned. One of the things I will tell you is we do look at our relative strength weightings every day, and we do make those appropriate changes at month end. Right now we are holding a gold position. That gold position actually might be taken off the table based upon relative strength. We'll wait till the end of the month, of course, but right now gold is kind of waning a little bit because equities actually are coming back a little bit more. So our weighting may be a little bit higher equity based upon each and every client's obviously risk profile and portfolio makeup. But as any position, I always tell people, just because we own it today doesn't mean we're going to own it for 5, 10, or 15 years. We're going to have to follow our investment strategy, and if it dictates that we do make a change, I think that's more important than ever. And I'm going to tell you why. A few days ago, I did 2 speaking engagements down in Florida for a couple groups of potential clients. And really what the talk was about is about the new investing paradigm, 5 critical investment strategies and principles every retiree should know. And it was really a way for me to gather information in addition for a book that I'm currently writing. And it was interesting, out of about 25 couples that attended, 9 out of 10 of those couples, whether they were do-it-yourself investors or whether they had somebody that was helping them with their money, which typically ends up being a broker, did not have an investment strategy in writing. They were essentially shooting from the hip, and we talked a lot about that. In fact, I talked about 4 couples after the talk, all do-it-yourself investors, and one of the gentlemen told me he actually loaded up on gold and silver about 6 months ago because he saw that asset class was doing the best, so he basically plowed a bunch of his money out of the stock market into that, only to see then his holdings drop well over 20% because he overweighted his portfolio and what was doing well at this specific time instead of maybe doing what was right for his portfolio. And what I try to explain to this gentleman, as I do all investors, is having an investment strategy and following it, even when it's temporarily underperforming or not working, is going to be more important than ever. I always tell people emotions are bad investment decision makers when it comes to your money. I do see this contagion taken off the table. I think that is great news as we get into the year end. I'm very happy the way we are currently positioned. Our relative strength indicators are working extremely well as we have entered the month of December and as we entered or exited the month of November. I think, again, we are well positioned. We will make appropriate changes based upon what we're seeing out there and what's appropriate for our clients. But as always, if you have a question about your portfolio, if you have any concerns, call our office. We always want to talk about your issues and help you with anything that you may need assistance with. And as always, if you have anybody who is looking for a professional money manager, we always appreciate referrals. If you don't hear from us before year end, make sure you do have yourself a great holiday season, and make sure you have yourself a safe and prosperous weekend, and hopefully you stay warm. I know in Chicago it's extremely cold. I'm back here for the holidays, but we will be back down in Florida shortly. Have yourself a great weekend. This is Brian Resney.